Greetings everyone, peace to you all. Welcome to another episode of Praiseworthy Reviews, where we go through video games to see if they are excellent and commendable. Today we will be reviewing Hades, an action roguelike by indie developer Supergiant. Players play as Zagreus, the Prince of Hades, trying to escape the underworld. We will be evaluating the game based on 5 criteria: fun factor, educational value, cultural value, spiritual value, and cost. So without further ado, let's jump in. Like most roguelikes, the gameplay loop in Hades consists primarily of combat and metagame resource management. Later on, additional gameplay involves completing complicated side quests. Combat is the obvious focus and the highlight of the game. Player abilities consist of an attack, a special, a cast, and a dash. Despite the 4 simple abilities, combat remains fresh for a number of reasons. Different types of weapons express the attack and special in different ways, allowing the player to choose a preferred fighting style, although the game rewards you for experimenting. Accessories called keepsakes give you different abilities and can only be swapped between zones and runs. In addition, the random boons and rewards available from each encounter keep runs feeling fresh even 100 hours in. The only nitpick with combat is a lack of variety of enemies, although this also can be altered in the late game with the use of heat. Despite the game being focused on combat, resource management plays a significant role in how combat works. Each run, other than the weapon and keepsake selection, the player has to make a number of other choices. Permanent upgrades can be made for Zagreus in the Mirror of Night, and for the world itself at the House Contractor. During the run itself, the player chooses rooms based on rewards and perhaps mini-bosses, as well as whether or not to engage in bonus optional trials. The narrative is actually the final element in the fun. Normally we look at the narrative in the cultural value section, but I did want to point out that the narrative is integrated with the gameplay. Progression in the narrative is tied to the character's overall progress and how far they've gotten in escaping the underworld. There are 4 levels, each more difficult than the previous. Players are rewarded with story progress when they advance, but players are also given some sort of compensation prizes in the form of narrative tidbits when they are defeated as well. Overall, I'm going to give Hades 5 out of 5 stars for fun, because although the gameplay is mostly focused on combat, it is very addicting. For a game that emphasizes combat, there's a surprisingly large amount of educational value. Like the TV shows Hercules and Xena before it, Hades gives the Greek gods their own modern adaptation. The game does an excellent job of conveying the gods' different personalities and powers and provides additional background in the codex. Multiple myths relevant to the underworld Hades are referenced as well. Major ones like Persephone and Sisyphus may be well known, but there are also others like the myths relating to Eurydice, Orpheus, and Patroclus. The writing of the game contains excellent diction and rewards the well-read with even some allusions to the Bible. In addition, because the lines are voice-acted, not only can the player learn new vocabulary words, but how to pronounce those words as well.
The rare heavenly splendors of Elysium, reserved for only the most great of mortal souls, spread forth luxuriantly all about the fire-stepping prince.
Luxuriantly? Really?
Overall, I'm going to assign Hades 5 stars for its educational value. Hades contains amazing art with some of the most luxuriantly spread scenery in gaming history. The music is extraordinary, with even songs written by in-world legendary musician Orpheus and his wife Eurydice as believably genius. Like all Supergiant games, voice acting and the narration is superb, possibly the best I have ever experienced.
Nyx is the night herself, the twin sons, sleep and death. But you, I cannot think of anything I fear, except the god of talking back to me.
According to VG Insights, at the time of recording in early 2024, Hades has sold over 7 million copies on Steam alone, not including PlayStation, Xbox, or Nintendo Switch. Of particular note is that Hades is the only video game to ever win a Hugo Award, an award normally only given to science fiction or fantasy literature. A sequel, Hades 2, is expected to go into early access later this year in 2024. Overall, I'm going to assign Hades 5 stars for its cultural value. In terms of negative spiritual content, Hades is by nature a game that is violent, so there are a lot of weapons, blood, death, and monsters. However, this is mitigated by the fact that it is cartoonish in nature, although not completely. Because of this, it is probably not appropriate for preteens. There are options of homosexual and polyamorous relationships, although this is purely optional and not in your face. It is also hinted that Chaos is neither male nor female, and uses gender-neutral pronouns. Regarding the Greek mythology setting, I personally did not have a problem with it religiously. Although there is cultural value in Greek mythology, Greeks are mostly Eastern Orthodox, so it's not even like Greek people believe in Greek mythology in a religious manner. Hades as a mythological underworld has the added benefit of making the player think about death and the nature of the underworld. The name Hades itself is referenced in the Bible. Regarding the message of the game, despite the setting of the game, I believe Hades to have some spiritual value in its themes. Overall, I'm going to give Hades 4 stars for its spiritual value. value. For the time rich, as a procedurally generated roguelike, Hades offers tons of replayability even after 100 hours of gameplay. For the time poor, however, the game is quite demanding of your time. It is difficult to experience most of the story without investing significant amounts of time due to the RNG nature of roguelikes and the inability to influence the availability of key side quest figures. In 2024, Hades costs $24.99 on Steam and can be regularly found on sale for half off. Overall, based on the content value, narrative accessibility, and asking price, I'm going to give Hades 4 stars for cost, taking away a star primarily for its demands on your time. Hades is a roguelike that has won numerous Game of the Year awards and is considered by some to be one of the greatest games of all time. Its approach to narrative is quite unique and is arguably the primary attraction of the game. Despite being a game that emphasizes fun gameplay, Hades is a cultural phenomenon that brings a lot of educational value as well. Hades is a game that I enthusiastically recommend. Based on the criteria discussed in the video, I subjectively assign Hades the rating of priority purchase. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If this video blessed you in some way, please consider watching some of my other videos, subscribing, or sharing with me some of your thoughts in the comments below.